It's now 6:30. I want to welcome everyone to the regular board meeting of the West ISD Board of Trustees. It is Wednesday, April the 14th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Abbott's temporary suspension of open meetings laws issued on March the 16th of the year 2020, this special call board meeting of the West ISD Board of Trustees will be conducted via video conference and telephone call. The video conference will be audible to the board and the public and allow for two-way communication. The Board of Trustees will not be physically present in one location, but a quorum will be required for the meeting on the video conference or phone. The public may access this virtual meeting via the link found on the calendar on the West ISD website at www.westisd.net. A link to the online agenda is also available under the board header of this same website. Any public comments must be submitted between 8 a.m. on Monday, April the 12th and 4 p.m. on Tuesday, April the 13th, 2021 by emailing the comments to publiccomment@westisd.net. All public comments shall be submitted to this email address and will be read to the Board of Trustees for consideration. At this time, I call this meeting to order and verify that a quorum of school board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, I would please direct you to Mr. Truitt's box there for the Pledge of Allegiance. It's going to be led by Lee Crawshaw, our secretary, followed by the prayer, which is led by board member John Crowder. If you at this time please stand, and suggested please mute or
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, we thank you for our community. We thank you for the opportunities that we have to serve you and serve one another. Lord, we ask that you would bless this meeting on this night, that you'd give us wisdom, that you'd help us to communicate clearly, openly, and honestly. Father, when decisions need to be made, we pray that you'd guide us and that we might make those decisions that are most pleasing to you. We ask your continued blessings on Mr. Truitt and the other administrators, that you'd protect their health, give them strength, and help them to continue to guide even in these difficult days. Lord, we're grateful for all your blessings, and we pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Lee, thank you for leading the pledge. John, thank you very much for the prayer. All right, at this time, that leads us to the recognition portion of our board agenda, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Truitt, our superintendent.
Thank you. To our guests tonight, this is our favorite part of the agenda because it gives us a chance to talk about our wonderful students and staff in town. And if you're following along on the agenda, we have two items that we'd like to discuss tonight. First, board members, if you noticed in your packet, you probably saw a copy of this certificate, which says we congratulate you for the 5th straight year. We've been named a 2021 Best Communities for Music Education. And I couldn't be more proud of the awesome job our music teachers and our students do to have this honor. I gave you a copy of the press release that I sent to Larry Knopick to have in the West News this week. And if you'll notice, we're one of only 686 school districts in the entire nation to receive this award. And I can't stress enough, 5 straight years. And it just shows the dedication of the budget. If you're talking about Joanna's domain, and the teaching and learning, when you're thinking about Mrs. Adams, our facilities, when you talk about the classroom space and commitment to the programs and courses, and of course the principals, which make sure we have the best possible staff and the students have availability in their day for these courses. I did want to recognize our band directors, Mr. Mark Dorsey, Mr. Austin Clark, and Miss Aubrey Ann Clark. And then of course, Mr. Dalrymple, Jason Dalrymple with our theater, because there's always the music piece to that. And of course, Caitlin Leslie at the elementary. It's very unique for a school district our size to have 3 band directors, to have full-time music, and we're just thrilled that we have those programs for our kids. So I can't thank them enough. So congratulations for this big honor to our music staff and all of our kiddos and their parents who really support the arts in West. Next, it's kind of an open mic time, open Zoom time for accolades. You saw a lot of different student winners in our admin reports. And so normally at our board meetings, we'd be going through, if we were face-to-face, we'd have folks in the audience that we'd be bringing up for certificates. And so this time we decided to give you all the accolades in the report. And I've asked for Mrs. Cosda, Mr. Clander, and Coach Woodard to share a little bit about the sponsors. And here's why. As you know, our stipends for extracurricular activities aren't a lot of money. And I know these folks spend a lot of time outside the school day doing awesome things for kids, not just UIL events in academic and athletics. We're talking about ag, and we're talking about special clubs and special interest groups that really get our kids going about things that they want to do, that they enjoy. And it always takes an adult to take the lead and have the time and passion and energy to get that done. So we're going to start with Mrs. Cosda, who's going to recognize a couple of exemplar sponsors, and then we're going to shift to Coach Clander. Well, Mr. Clander, well, I guess you're always a coach. Coach Clander, and then Coach Woodard. So take it away, Mrs. Cosda. I saw on here.
I'm on here. I'm sorry,
Oh,
my video.
oh, there you are.
My video is acting funny.
You're fine. Welcome.
We had our UIL academic meet, and we had quite a few sponsors, but I wanted to give special attention to and praise to Cassie Fitzhugh. She was actually the coordinator for the entire campus for UIL. And this was a challenging year for elementary UIL because the district voted to do this on campus this year. And so not only did she have to find coaches that were willing to stay after school and work with the students and cover every single event, but she also had to coordinate hosting the event on campus during the school day. And she had to pull each group one at a time and test them and figure out how to get all of that taken care of with them losing minimal class time. So she did that and did a fabulous job. That was Miss Fitzhugh. And we also had lots and lots of sponsors on campus, but I wanted to give a special shout out to Miss Mays that every year coaches multiple events and wins every time. So she's figured out the magic potion or magic, like the little secret trick to getting that to happen, but she works really hard with her students. And Mr. Truitt even coached chess for us this year and helped us out because we wanted every single group represented. So he was our chess coach for the year. It was great.
That's right. We crushed them. Checkmates all around.
Did you make them watch the Queen's Gambit, David?
Little inappropriate, wasn't on my list for the kids, but we did learn some terms that I saw in that mini series. That was a good show.
And that's it for us at the elementary campus.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Costa.
Well, I'm going to take it a little step further than Ms. Cosda did. Not only were our UIL dressed this year just because of the way things worked out, but there were multiple groups that were the same way. So, you know, I want to really give some kudos to Ms. Strickland and Ms. Eubanks for our middle school UIL, and really to Kim Woodard with the high school, because some guy said, yes, we'll do UIL. We'll host it this year. And yeah, sure, we'll do it. Sure, it's great. And we devised a plan. Ms. Woodard put that plan into action, having kids spread out on the campus, had them at the First Baptist Church. Thank you, Dr. Crowder, for letting us use the church for part of that. Gosh, it was really crazy, but it was really good because it showed us a new and maybe a better way to do some of those things. So, but to those folks with our UIL, really some big kudos go out for that. We also want to talk about our ag folks, Mr. Muir, Miss Muir. If you can imagine doing an ag show that it's not in person, that's kind of different, but they made it work for the kids until some of those changes came out. Miss Snook is going through that same process right now with TSA. If you looked through your packet, you saw we have a lot of kids involved in the state TSA, and for about a week, they have been working, doing it remotely. So that's really a unique process they're having to go through. So those are some of the big groups and some of the trials and tribulations they had to go through. So kudos to our UIL folks, our ag folks, and our TSA folks.
Coach Woodard.
All right, thank you. Same thing. We had a lot of coaches that worked really hard this winter, and just want to acknowledge them. Coach Harrelson and Coach Dickerson with our powerlifting program won both regional meets, the boys and the girls regional meets, and took 8 kids to the state powerlifting meet and had a great showing there. And so just proud of them and their hard work that they put on. And then a special shout out to Coach Lewis and the boys basketball coaches and Coach Zulke and his girls coaching staff. I think it's been the best basketball showing in district and in the playoffs that we've had in a while. The girls went 3 rounds and the boys went 2 rounds. And considering the end of basketball season with our snow and playing 3 games in 1 week and rescheduling all that, just really proud of those guys and their staffs on how they handled that and how they persevered through the entire basketball season. So just proud of our basketball programs, proud of everything that went on this winter, and looking forward to getting back on here in May and bragging about our coaches and our kids in our spring sports. So appreciate all of y'all, and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Sparks, that's recognitions.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Congratulations to everyone. And thank you to the sponsors for the extra effort. That brings us to the audience portion of our agenda. Mr. True, do we have anybody contact you this week that would like to speak to us?
We did not receive any emails to the public comments email address. No, sir.
Very good. All right. That brings us to agenda item number 7, board members, which is an action item. It's a consideration and possible action by the board to approve the consent agenda. You've had the opportunity to look this over in your package during the past few days and stuff. The floor is now open for a motion to accept the consent agenda with the exception of item 7B2A, which is a payment to Socorro Family Ford for the amount of $332.07. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay, Mike, was that your voice, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, Mike Garrick has made the motion. Is there a second?
Jason Yannick seconds.
Jason Yannick seconds. All those in favor of the motion as presented, show of hands or say aye. Okay, very good. All those opposed, same sign. There are none. 7-0, Lee, as I counted it. Okay, at this time, the floor is open for a motion to accept consent agenda item 7B2A, which is a payment to Socorro Family Ford for $332.07. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Mike Garrick has made the motion. Is there a second? Jason, I see your hand up. Jason Yannick seconds it. All those in favor, please show of hands for the motion as presented. Okay, there are 6 hands. Those opposed?
One abstention.
Those abstaining. All right, we have 1 abstention, 6-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to agenda item number 8, which is a report, and those are the administrative and campus reports. And I'll turn the floor back over to Mr. Truitt.
Yes, sir. I have the first presentation. I'm going to do the share screen here to go through the slides that you're used to seeing on this particular template. And as you know, we usually start with where we are on our most current health alert data. And I made this earlier in the week, so I'll be ready for tonight, but I'd like to update you that we're at 6 quarantine instead of 4 as of today, 3 at the elementary, 3 at the middle school, but amazingly, 0 positive cases for students and staff. And if you remember from this next chart, you have to go all the way back to October 26th since we've had that. So wonderful news. Mr. Clander and I were wondering about prom and all that. And so far, because I've asked Mrs. Tobola every day, we don't have any cases to report. And so far we're looking good from that event and moving forward into school here. I went ahead because I ran out of room on that chart, so you can see how we're trending right now on this page. You can see that we're down since March began into April. We're we've moved from 6-2 to 1-1 to 0. And again, that number should be a 6 as of today. So good news to report that sticking with our return to learn and play plans is going well for us. And I've already seen a lot of districts announce that for next August that masks will be optional. And I'm sure that information will be coming from the TEA and other groups here shortly as we move into the summer. On this slide, I always do a couple of updates. Right now, identified is the key word because our staff can literally go really any place that has an opening. And like you saw probably on Facebook today, that our local drugstores and even Lynn's were saying, hey, we have the vaccine if you can stop in. And so it's much easier. We're not doing clinics at this point. We finished our second dose last Wednesday for the folks here through Lynn's Pharmacy at the high school, middle school. Everybody showed up but one, so we had a great turnout. And so this is the number I'm aware of, 89 out of 206, but there could be more, and we're doing our best to track that number. Tuesday at our district leadership team meeting for the month, the campus principal shared that the only additional PPE materials they'd like us to make sure we have through May 28th, because these are the two biggies for them, are the disposable face masks and the wipes. It doesn't mean we don't need the other materials on our list. It means we have plenty of that, and we're looking good to last through the end of the year. But those two items, Mrs. Mosick is going to make sure that we get ordered and have plenty for use. And then I want to switch to a memo. We've been trying to break down as a team the best that we can. This document, let me share this out. Sorry, excuse me. I think I'd have this down by now. There it is. Here we go. We've been trying to break down how best we can explain our end of the year activities. And so I put together this memo to share with you tonight. And since it tweaks a few things from the return to learn, it's actually an action item for number 11 on the agenda. In talking with our principals and our sponsors of all of our different organizations, we were trying to figure out how we can define the different spaces and what's usable and how it could be used for our COVID restrictions. And so I have 4 headers, and think of the first header as outside, utilizing Trojan field or the baseball field or softball field, depending upon the size and the number of people that would attend the event. And so you can see in the text there as you're following along that the UIL, of course, says outdoor in these types of areas, stadiums, is 100%. Of course, for Trojan field, like I shared in March for graduation, that's only the home side. That using portable stages and sound system, chairs on the turf or on the track, depending on which site, COVID protocols being followed for entering and exiting. And then, of course, when you're outside, it's up to the individual with social distancing and mask wearing if they need it per the guidelines. And so that's the first one, meaning if anybody wants to have an award ceremony or end of the year event of some sort, if you want it outside, you can go 100% as far as spectators and guests. And here's some ways that we can make it happen with the chairs and the other systems there that I mentioned. And then when we get inside, this is where I broke it down into 3 different areas. We have the arena, we have the auditorium, and we have the cafeteria. So I tried to specify between the 3 that if outside guests, meaning parents, are going to be invited, we have to make sure we specify where they can go and where they can be. So I thought I'd start in not the order you see here. I want to start with the auditorium. And if you'll notice in that first sentence, currently our sound system is not working. Ms. Mosick has someone coming that she's working with, along with Mr. Crow, to get that going again. We think we've got some busted pieces, and I'm not going to be technical enough, but some of the speakers and amplifiers and things we need repaired before it can properly work. And so you can see there in the next sentence that if a group, like say Mrs. Cosda wants to have grade 4 awards and she's not planning to invite parents, that is a good site to use the portable sound system and to do the live stream plugged into it, where that sound will work just fine, and they can record it and save it to, for later or live stream it So if they want to do that without any guests, just with students and staff, the auditorium is still a great place for those events. And I know we have several groups that are going to still do that and just live stream it and send that out one evening at a certain designated time and date for our folks to watch, like we did last year with a lot of success. But then you get into the cafeteria and arena pieces. We do have 2 events, ag and athletics, that still would like to include the food piece. And it's easy if they're only inviting the kids to eat, because if you think about it, we do that every day. The chairs are appropriately distanced, the tables are appropriately spaced. Our students do that every day at lunch. And so that piece is easy. And then if you are considering adding a parent piece, the way it reads there is they must sit in home groups or family groups at their own designated table. So if, say, Mr. Muir for the ag banquet wants to have food for the 2 parents and each student or whoever they're inviting, there's got to be, if I use my family with Brian and Connor and Lori, there's got to be a Truett table that has a sign on it, and then the 4 Truetts sit at that table together and have dinner, and a Woodard can't come sit at our table. And so that's our way to make sure that we keep everybody socially distanced in their home groups as the guidelines specify. And then if it's a buffet type thing, they have to wear their masks through the lines, and then they can go sit down and eat like they would at any restaurant. And then the arena is the big one, because if you think about it, we've been using it for volleyball and basketball all year with the rows roped off with the 6 feet between seats. And so we believe for the arena, if we want to invite any guests specifically for events like kindergarten graduation, 5th grade promotion, 8th grade promotion awards, some of the ones that are big events that if we want to do them other than live streams, we could use the arena with up to 500 guests appropriately spaced following COVID guidelines like we've done. That would include masks because we're inside the building. And you can see we can do the appropriate stage. You've all seen that for the different events in front of the glass windows. We've got a great mic system inside of the arena. And over this year, we've added the big pull down screen with the projector that comes down from the scoreboard in the middle of the arena. So we could even do video and PowerPoints and things in the arena. The kids can sit distanced on the floor in chairs with the parents up high in the U of the arena. And then of course, we can use that then as an option. So I wanted to let you know of the 3 indoor options of how we could use the cafeteria, auditorium, and arena, and then of course outdoors, which you were already aware of. And I just wanted you to hear my explanation on how we're going to approach these. And as the principals schedule the different events, these are their options to stay within our COVID guidelines. Are there any questions I can answer, or if there's anything that wasn't clear?
David, I've got one for you on the lab confirmed COVID. It's down in the elementary, middle school and stuff. Do you happen to know if that's the B117 variant, which is more infectious for kiddos than it is for adults? Or has it been identified?
I was actually asked that question, and it's not. I think Ms. Crawshaw had asked me that. I can't remember. Maybe it was you, Dr. Sparks, when we came to meet about the agenda. I did follow up, and it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you following it up.
You bet. Any other questions? Okay, when we get to action item 11, really what you're going to approve, board, or possibly approve is this memo. So we'll just reference back to this in these 4 bullet points, and then I'll send this out to our student, staff, and parents as another update to our Return to Learn plan. Okay.
Good.
All right, next presentation. I've got that one too. And I'm going to stick a picture up here while I share this or while I discuss it, because this is a good one to just show about the great progress that is happening at West Elementary School. And Mr. Norris and Ms. Cosda are going to assist me with portions of this presentation because we've done a lot of different things, and Mr. Norris literally goes out to the site on a daily basis. And so I thought I'd give him some time to visit about things he's seeing and his interactions with Jackson Construction. But on my part, you probably saw in your packet that I had About 8 to 9 bullet points that I just wanted to share with you. The first one shares that bi-weekly we're meeting with Jackson Construction in Claycomb. We're going to start meeting on site in the trailer for the next one, and we meet Tuesdays at 2. But I want to make sure you understand that's not the only time we talk. We talk daily, especially in text and email. But this is when we all come together with our agendas and lists and questions, and it's just a great time to get together. I also want you to see on there that Mr. Norris is sending me pics daily from his visits, and that's a lot of times when I'm sending you and the campuses. If there's something that I think is noticeably new, we send it out. Also, every 2 weeks at these bi-weekly meetings, we're getting the drone pics, which I think are a fantastic way to share with our community and our staff as far as progress being made. And you can see one of the latest ones here up here on the screen. We did receive our survey work on the driveway extension from the new campus to Jerry Moshik, which was a big yahoo to get that in so we could start that planning. And so Claycomb now is getting that drawn up. And so that'll be one of the next things you see here in the coming weeks and months. And then I gave you a couple of dates there. This week, the concrete grade beam sections A and C, which is really what you see in this picture, are going in. And I listed for you what those areas are. And I shared that with the elementary team so they could get excited about what those spaces are that they're seeing worked on. The plumbing's going in section A. And then you can see dirt work on the southeast retention pond in that corner that we've talked about before by the Watsons and of course, along Cottonwood there. Utility, electrical and water lines are going in. Jeremy even sent me pictures of fire hydrants that are now on site today. And the best news is that next bullet point that talks about even with Snowmageddon, we're only at 9 weather days, which is great news. And I've been very impressed with Jackson's ability to make up time. I was wondering about those 300 plus piers getting done, and they got on track. And as you can see in this picture, that's a lot of piers. And that really shows you the footprint of the campus where you see all those different piers. I'm now going to ask Mrs. Cosda to share an update on a recent meeting we had with some PR folks at Claycomb and some things we're going to do here before the school year ends to get the staff and students excited about the project. Ms. Costa?
Sure. Last week we met with George, and do you remember the lady's name? She was new to me. I'll put you on the spot. And this very nice lady, and whenever we met, we talked about things that we could do to kind of keep the excitement going for the community, for our students, parents, and the employees on the campus. And Jackson Construction has agreed to spray paint a beam for us. I believe they're going to paint it white. And we have a plan to get it moved over to our current elementary campus. We're going to put it under the pavilion on the playground. And on field day, all students and employees on the campus are going to be able to write their name on the beam with a Sharpie. And we're hoping after that to be able to have all board members come over and sign the beam as well. And then Jackson Construction is going to install that beam. At the end, whenever he was talking to us, it sounded like they were going to try to put it in towards the entrance of the building in that first stairwell, so that the entire time during the build, anybody that was able to go in and tour the campus and construction, they would be able to see everyone's signatures. But those will always remain there even whenever they're covered with sheetrock or whatever else they cover it with. And then we also brainstormed and talked about a possible time next year for employees on the campus to get to kind of like tag the building in an area, either a floor or wall before they paint. So we're gonna figure that out. But then we're also going to multiple times throughout the year, we do live video announcements every morning from 7:45 to 8. And a few times next year, we're gonna go out and we're gonna do them on site so that all the students and employees on the campus can see updates on the building. So for example, whenever they finish the gym, we'll be able to run through and show all the kids what the gym's gonna look like in just different areas throughout the year.
Thank you, Mrs. Costa. Mr. Norris, you want to share your interactions with Jackson Construction?
Yes. Today when I met with Jackson Construction, they had started on a big French drain on the very back of the property over here. So that's the best way I could put it. It's a big French drain to get all the water to go around the building. So that's what they've been working on the last 2 days. The water line is actually almost all the way around the building. They have that one hydrant in, and as I was there today, they were working on getting the other 3 around the building put in. The water line is all the way from where they tied on to all the way up to the high school, middle school property. The grade beams for section A, like you said, are all done, and they should pour section C grade beams next Friday, as weather permitting. He's hoping the rate they're going, they should be able to have all the grade beams poured in 3 weeks, if everything works out. After that, they have to have 7 clear days in order for they can actually start on the actual slab itself. So let's just hope the weather holds off. Have clear weather. But with Jackson and Clay Combs, they've both been great to work with. So no complaints. So
Thank you, Mr. Norris. Oh, I hadn't seen Jason's hard hat on. That was perfect for that theme.
I figured since we were getting a virtual tour, I figured I would.
Yes.
Just in case.
Board members, do you have questions for Mr. Norris in particular, since he's out there every day, that we can answer? All right, hearing none, we're going to shift to 8C, and I've asked Mr. Klander tonight to share an overview of a exciting new partnership with Prosper Waco involving our CATE program. So take it away, Mr. Klander.
Some of you guys may remember we had a gentleman here a few years ago, Herman Perea, that was a teacher and a coach for us. He is now taking a position with the Prosper Waco Foundation, and he's really specializing in getting schools together to kind of share resources. And one of the things that he's reached out, there's about 6 schools that we're currently talking about working together with to look at some of these
We lost you, Chuck. Hold on. We lost your connection. We see your mouth moving, but we lost your sound. Now you're just messing with us.
Are we there?
Yeah, there you are. All right, say all that again.
All right. So I'm not sure where we started from, but going from the point where this Prosper Waco group is really looking at trying to get schools together to work together so that they can kind of pool resources in some career pathways. One of the things that we are really excited about is the ability to collaborate with some schools. It was Conley, it was China Spring. Ms. Adams, you may be able to help me out. Was Lorena in this group? I know they were talking about getting involved in that. But using some of those things to work in areas such as the health sciences, medical field. There was some diesel mechanics. There was some aviation. So kind of working in some of these high market areas that a lot of kids are really interested in today. And so as we kind of move from this, it's going to be a partnership where if you were familiar with the Guam and Guaca plan, it would still be our kids working with other kids, sharing resources rather than us paying funds out to another entity. So that's one of the things we're really excited about. One of the other things that they're going to really work hard on doing is kind of getting that final step for kids. You know, you go through a 3-year program or a 4-year program, and you have to be of a certain age maybe to do an internship. They will be that entity then that takes over and makes sure that kids are finishing up with that. You know, once they graduate from us, it's hard for us to continue that follow-up point. And so that's what this Prosper Waco group is really going to be doing because of their partnerships with industry in our area. So we're really excited about it. You know, we're on the ground floor of it, and there's some things coming that I really feel like are going to really benefit our kids from this.
So Chuck, is it saying that college access? So is that just for college bound kids, or did I miss that?
No, I would really think it would be more along the lines of career, probably through TSTC style things rather than, 2-year and 4-year institutes of colleges like MCC, things like that. So it's really working towards those beginning parts of that. Now you could take that and then stretch that into your 4-year bachelor's of science and things in nursing and so forth. But it's really trying to get kids into that first level.
The first level of just starting school, or are you talking about getting into the trades level?
Into the trades level and career levels.
If I may, they are really wanting to help us form partnerships with local to the area, McLennan County companies such as Holt and Caterpillar, places like that are willing to partnership and give our kids that internship piece, and then maybe offer them an opportunity to go straight to work if that's their pathway, or help us steer them towards the right pathway. So it is an opportunity to broaden our trades areas that we've been talking about a lot through certificates and licensures, but now that missing piece for us, like Chuck was saying, that internship that's hard for a small district like ours to do on our own, but with the power of 5 or 6 other schools together, we can and get those partnerships going. So that's a lot of their main goals, as Chuck was saying, is the power of that collaboration and then working with Prosper Waco to make those partnerships with businesses.
And how do the kids join up with them? How is that connection going to be made initially?
A lot of this will start from those strands that kids will be taking in as they come through their high school career. And then we get to that final junior and senior year where they need to have that field hands-on experience. Then that's where that partnerships with those companies. So, those are things I think we'll have to be working through continuously. But right now, it's that idea that we'll have that opportunity to get those partnerships set up. So that's really what Herman's big push is he's going to be the hands and feet working with companies, saying, hey, I've got this many kids. I need to find places for them to learn how to do this in a real world sense.
And might I add, with the grant backing of funding to make it happen, especially when you talk about transportation and such, because each campus that's committed to this or district will be given an allotment through Herman, which is the key is having that backing and someone that's their sole job and purpose. Any other questions?
Sounds good.
Infancy stage, but just the fact we were invited to the table and we've reciprocated that we want to join this partnership is huge. And as you guys know, like Amanda and Chuck shared, we've been talking about this for quite some time, and now we think we have a way to make it happen. And it's with an added resource, but also experts that this is their, again, sole role in assisting the districts with this. So we're very excited about the promising information that we heard from Herman. So we're grateful he called us. Once a Trojan, always a Trojan.
Good.
All right, board members, I want to go back one agenda item because I forgot to share that in my notes here about the elementary construction project. I wanted you to see in our packet what Joanna is going to do for y'all for just helping with transparency and your information about what we're paying on the bond as we complete the elementary project. So hopefully you saw this page, which is new to her reports in the consent agenda. And I just wanted to point it out that you can see we've made our first payment to Jackson. We're on number 8 for Claycomb, but we're going to keep this in the agenda packet every month so you can see what's going out on the wire. And of course, we'll keep a running record so you'll know where we are on the finances of the bond project. So I meant to show that to you to make sure you saw that. So thank you, Joanna, for adding that to the reports. And that'll be in there every month. Or I guess I should say when we make payments. I probably should have worded it that way.
And you're talking about all payments, not just to them, but all payments that are done through the wire transfer, right?
That is correct. We've committed to that, but I specifically wanted to point out the elementary piece because I want y'all to know what we're paying out to those two groups each time. Point. Yes, all wires, but yes, but definitely Claycomb and Jackson. All right, next, this is not a good report, but you'll need to hear where we are. As a reminder, we've updated our DOI plan not too long ago in April of 2020 to look at alternative healthcare for our staff. As you know, we struck out, we went for bid in the one group that we looked at, and then I shared with you in an email and with our staff that we had a promising meeting with Region 12 about another option. And then we got some bad news after looking at that option. So I've asked Mrs. Adams, with one of her duties as human resources, to share an update on what we found out and why they're going to pass on us. Take it away.
So Region 12 has partnered with Smith Associates, and we've been working with Eric Smith and submitted our details, and that Mr. Don Crook from CBG gave us our census data. We submitted that, and as Mr. Truitt mentioned, we got not so great news, in fact, not good news at all, back. Based on our census data, Smith Associates does not feel we are good candidates for their alternative uniform group coverage plan. In fact, they feel like our premiums would double if they even offered it to us. So they are not going to extend that based on a few factors. So when we pressed to find out what those were, they were very open to tell us that of our pool of candidates, our pool of employees that could purchase insurance, only 51% of our employees do purchase insurance through the district. And the problem with that is that of those 51%, the way they word it is our gender and age mix is not favorable. And what that means is the majority of our employees that do purchase are over the age of 50. In fact, almost 20% are over 60. And therefore, our risk factor for the claim amount is the second part of that would be paid out by the insurance company is not favorable, so they are not willing to take that on. So the Smith Associates through Region 12 is not a viable option for us at this time.
But it doesn't mean we're giving up. That's just 2 no's, and we'll keep searching for alternatives to what our staff currently pays and what options they have. So we shared this information with our district advisory team last night, and now you, and I'll send out an email, or Ms. Adams will, to the staff to let them know the update on that option. I'm also sad to report that we heard TRS is going up again. And so we're waiting, not anxiously, actually with our eyes closed a little bit, about what those new costs will be. It has led us to have a discussion as an administration about how much we contribute to the insurance of our employees. And I don't want to steal thunder, but Ms. Mossick or Ms. Adams, if y'all want to share about our 235 and that information, this may be a good time to share that as well.
Sure, Joanna, jump in if I miss anything. Speaking with Don Crook, he came to meet about our renewal process for next year, and we've been at 235 for quite some time as the portion that the district contributes to the employee medical insurance. On their on their scale of contributions from lowest to highest, there are 5 ranges. We are on the range that has the lowest contribution at this time to their employees, because you can offset, you look at salaries and benefits, and the district makes a choice there. He is going to recommend, he's going to go back and study that and bring a recommendation back to the board and us of what that could look like. And this has to do with the Affordable Care Act and how we respond to that for our employees. And so, Joanna, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it's great. Just that this is something that we're definitely going to earmark for budget purposes. We want to keep those ideas on the forefront, and that's going to be something that, depending on what Mr. Crook says, he's been in this business for, geez, I'm not even sure how long he's been doing this, but I'd like to see what he comes back with, but we definitely want to keep this as an earmark.
He expects to be able to hear something back from TRS at the end of this month as far as what it's looking like for rate increases, and is going to do a study. He's waiting for that. Needs to do a study after he gets that information.
Questions? That was a lot. Not a lot of good news in there, but we're ready to tackle it, especially if upping our compensation mark as Joanna shared. Anybody? Sorry, sometimes it's hard to see all the squares. Okay. All right, we're going to move to the last report from the administrative and campus reports. It's back to Mrs. Adams for our monthly state accountability and interim assessment news. So Ms. Adams is going to kick it off, and then I know Ms. Cosda and Mr. Klander are going to share some thoughts as well.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. We just have a few slides tonight that we'd like to share. This is our benchmark data review. This is the time of year where at elementary and middle we give the full-length STAR exam and then use that data to help our final push for our students to meet their growth goals. And so I'm just going to give you a couple of reminders, and then I'm going to let the principals speak about their data. So just a couple of things about accountability this year. Remember that no district in the state of Texas will receive an A through F rating this year due to circumstances. It's considered a disaster rating, and so it'll be not rated. Domain 2, which is the one we focus on in our vision plan, as well as when we've been doing that for several years, because it allows us to show growth for each student, no matter where they are on the spectrum of the needs all the way up to masters. This year, they will not calculate domain 2 academic growth, however, for a campus or a district. However, students will receive a notation on their scores letting them know if they made adequate progress towards their growth goal for the year. So we will have that information to share. We probably won't see that until August, but we will have other data. So the data you're going to see tonight, so that it's in line with what we're going to get from the state, the data tonight will not focus on growth as we normally do. It will be our student achievement. So what Mr. Klander and Ms. Costa share with you is domain 1. And how the students fell as far as approaches meets masters. We continue to set goals for each student with them, and they work towards those goals for growth so that each student can see how they're getting better each day. But since there's no scaling tool that TEA will put out this year, we have to use that student achievement to present any data sets to the public and to you guys on the board. And so as Mrs. Costa takes over, I just wanted to kind of make sure that we remembered kind of the landscape of where we are for STAR and accountability. And with that, I turn it over to you, Ms. Costa.
Thank you. And we start with reading. And just as a reminder, the approaches goal for us as a campus this year, what we're always talking about focusing on in PLT meetings, approaches, we would hope for the students to be 90% approaches, 60% meets, and 30% masters. And so I can say, I wish we had comparisons from year to year, but I can say that our meets and masters numbers are going up. If you look at the masters column, you want 30%. We're already there in 5th grade, which is fabulous. And we want that continue to grow, because that shows us that we're not just trying to get the students to pass the test, that we are pushing them as hard as we can and getting them to grow. If you look at the approaches scores, I'll be really honest and say that I expected 3rd grade reading to be a little bit higher than this, but when we looked into it, we had quite a few in 3rd grade that were like 1 question away. I'm hoping when we take the actual test that number will be a little higher. Then when you compare 3rd grade to 4th grade and then 5th grade, historically, not just in West, but across the state of Texas, the 4th grade scores typically drop. And there are a few reasons for that. third grade, they're still learning to read a little bit, but they're also reading to learn. But in fourth grade is when you get much more deep into the, it's just more complex, the reading, the inferencing they're expecting you to do. But also, I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I feel like in third grade, and the students are really nervous, scared. They've never taken the test before. And then in fifth grade, they have 3 chances at it, and they know on a typical year that they need to pass it to go to the next grade level. Fourth grade tends to be that little dip year. And so we expected the scores to be a little bit lower. My hope would have been that it would have been third grade at 80, fifth at 80, and maybe fourth at 70. The fourth grade group, we know, is a struggling group for us, and that's why y'all allowed us, one of the reasons why y'all allowed us this year to add a section to that grade level to make the class sizes a little bit smaller. They just need, that fourth grade group needs lots of intervention and support, which we work on daily with them. But I can answer any questions for y'all in regards to reading before we go to the math slide if you'd like.
For this and for all the others, I'd really be curious to see a breakdown between the males and females and how they test and what that run looks like. It can be very interesting.
We haven't looked at it that way. It could be interesting. I could probably make predictions just based on different pockets of kids in different grade levels, but we haven't studied it in that way.
That'd be great if we can start seeing that.
Okay. We can do that. That's easy to pull from Eduphoria for us.
As a reminder, Ms. Crawshaw is probably remembering this when we went through our improvement required stage. Remember, white, male, poor was our target. And so I imagine our data is somewhere still around there on the boys' side. So good question, Ms. Crawshaw. We will look at that and get that to you guys.
I can say,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I can say just, she's not on here tonight. I wish she were on here to hear this, but when we were studying writing data earlier, but then even reading data, we have noticed that our ESL students do really well. And I think we need to give lots of kudos to Ms. Busby. She does a great job, not only preparing the students for TELPAS with the listening, speaking, reading, and writing. That writing is a huge component, but with reading, just good strategies. And we're noticing that it's positively influencing our testing scores in all grade levels.
What I started to say is that some of the teaching techniques, if we knew the male-female breakdown, the teaching techniques for each of those populations could be altered because, you know, granted, I'm making a big saying everybody fits into one category kind of thing, but guys and girls learn differently, and they participate differently in that whole 9 yards. The other thing, based on what you just said, is the TELPAS. Did we give the TELPAS across the board or just to our ELL kids?
It was given to our ELL students, yes, and we've completed that. The results haven't come in quite yet, but hopefully they will soon.
The reason I asked that is 2 of the campuses that I go to, they gave that to everybody in the classroom, not just to those guys, just as another tool to look at.
They do quite often in the classroom. If they're collecting the writing samples, they will give the writing black prompt to all of the students, just so that they're not pulling out certain students. So they'll give that entire prompt to everyone and collect it just to see, but not the entire test. The listening, speaking, and reading, they haven't.
Okay, it just is another tool that could possibly be used, seeing how we're already have it.
Sure. And then these are our math scores, and we've talked about this a few times this year in meetings. Our math scores continue to jump, and they're on the rise. It's exciting because it shows me this is the future. Like, you can see how the scores are going up in all areas, approaches, meets, and masters. You see less of a discrepancy also between 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. There are a few reasons for that. I think the year before I came, there was an extensive amount of work that was done where Region 12 came in and helped the teachers. Also, I think reading takes a longer amount of time to make gains. You just have to start all the way back at that pre-K age and have that really strong foundation where sometimes in math, you can fill those gaps a little faster at the elementary level. But we're really proud of our math scores. They've really shot up in the last couple of years, and I hope that continues to happen. We've also had some great additions to staff in math this year, and they've made a positive impact on our entire campus, which is great. Sure.
So if I'm reading this correctly, 19 or 20% of our third graders are at the master's level for math?
Third grade math, 30% are masters.
Oh, that's a percent. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And our goal is 30?
Yes. It's 90, 60, 30. So as you see, the third grade master's level is there. I think the approaches level will be there by the time STAR comes around. In fifth grade, they'll be there, I think, in approaches and masters as well. Fourth grade math also has the most new content of any subject or any grade level at elementary school. So they, not only were they filling gaps missed by COVID, but they also have the most new content, and they've still done really well this year. Once again, the math, exceeds reading in that grade level. Do y'all have any questions about math or about either area?
So I guess one more question would be, and I'm sorry, but you probably explained this to me before, but what are the, like if we're below the goal, what are the implications of that? Like if this were a year where we were getting a grade or whatnot?
It's so complicated just because you have to hit every area. This really just hits domain 1 for us, but really, if you're studying it and looking at it, I think a long time ago, there might have been so many different things going on. It was harder to pinpoint, but I think now when you look at this data, you can see specific grade levels or specific subjects or specific groups of kids that need to be targeted. Like obviously, whenever you look at this, you know that our fourth grade students are struggling the most. So it's easy for us to put extra intervention there, extra training there. Where I think a long time ago, we wouldn't have known kind of where to begin. I think now that we know the teachers have the tools they need, it's easier to pinpoint where intervention needs to go.
And also, Jason, remember that we're not getting what we normally do from TEA in June or August. And so we're plugging along with our ESF Race to an A plan. And you set goals just a short time ago as a board where we had our subcommittee and we adjusted the very percentages that you're hearing Carrie say. So we're still going to we're doing our best to hit our personal district targets, knowing we won't get anything, like what you're asking or maybe thinking from the state. So we're still going to try to run what if grade levels, grade letter grades. So we can see where we are as compared to 2 years ago, since we didn't receive anything last year either. So we're going to do it all internally so you can see our progress and we can celebrate or target some areas like Ms. Cos is mentioning here this summer going into August. So we're still going to do it even without the state doing it. So even though you hear we're giving STAR or the state's mandating STAR, but we're not getting letter grades or labels, we're still doing our best to treat it as the real thing so we can see where our kids are following the COVID school virtual plans that we had to do, and then coming back in September. And now we had Snowmageddon and some other challenges, but we're on track. So we're working hard.
And it's so hard this year, like Miss Adams said, with us only receiving raw scores. Say you get you know, you had an 18 out of 20, like we would normally think, oh, they scored an 18 out of 20. That means they have a 90, and you're trying to calculate it that way. On a normal STAR year, it's not even like that, because they might see that one particular question was really hard across the state and they might weigh it less, and then they weigh another one more. And so it's kind of a shot in the dark. We're still going to do that on our own. We're going to calculate what their kind of number would have been and then calculate what our percentages would be, but it's just not as accurate as it would have been in other years.
And I should have mentioned that they will not release the scale score. We'll only have scores and performance levels. But I also wanted to say, as we move into Chuck's presentation, that 90, 60, 30 that you're hearing us talk about is actually next year's goal. So this year we're ahead of schedule. 90, 60, 30 gets you a low A. And we want to be at that point next year. And then the following year we're trying to get to a mid A. So I want you to look at these benchmarks. We're getting very close in a lot of areas. So it's just getting that consistency, and just remember that when they do the scaling tool, which isn't available this year, they blend all of these together to get that overall score. So we're breaking it down because we want you to see the grade levels, and then we can offer further demographic information to you guys. They'll grade the campus. It's all into one. So, and I just want to make sure, as Chuck started, that you guys know, we know 90, 60, 30 is where we needed to be for our big goal. If we were in accountability last year, we still don't really know exactly what that's going to look like, and that's why they won't give us the tools yet, because they're trying to figure that out with the COVID issue. So, Chuck, take it away. Oh, I'm sorry. Carrie,
No, I just know that when you're talking about implications, we know there are always hard decisions to be made. And when we look at the score, we look across the grade level, but then we look also at teachers within grade levels. And if there's a huge discrepancy, we look at if that happened in reading and math, or if it just happened in one area. And then that's when we make decisions about staffing and everyone's best fit. And so there are lots of things that go into it just to try to make sure that our students succeed.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
All right, guys, as you can see, these are our middle school reading scores. And just as Ms. Costa was talking about, you know, our goal is to continue to not only have those increased approaches numbers, but we really want to really push those meets and masters, because that means we're pushing kids to grade level and above grade level. So that's really one of the big pushes for our staff. I do want to give kudos to them, because in all of our areas so far this spring, our teachers have done a great job of identifying kids who have been struggling learners, who are then coming in. We've had mandatory tutorials in the mornings, and we really feel like it's going to pay some dividends for us, because we're getting more individualized small group instructional time with the kids, which is going to pay off for them. So as you can see here with our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, you know, our numbers are getting better as we move from that approaches to the meets, and we want to continue that meets to the masters. We would like to have more of those kids in that masters category, because those will be our higher level learners. And just as Ms. Costa also said, you know, some of those, it can be a question or two that keeps you from being from one category to the other. So we want to continue pushing that. All of our staff are really doing a really good job. Our kids are really buying into it. You know, we've pressed a lot about how important it is that we go and we show what we know. And when we've done these benchmarks in the past, sometimes we haven't gotten the results that we wanted. So we put together a packet for our parents. That way they could see a comparison and let the parents know what we're doing and how we're doing it. And that's really impacted how many kids are coming in for our tutorial sessions. We start those at 7:15 in the mornings. Those are rotating groups throughout the week. So we feel like we're going to have some dividends that are coming out of these type of things. So as you look at these, you can kind of see that we still want to get those approaches numbers up higher. That 90% is really always going to be that big goal. And as we continue moving from that, that's the area we want to work on. So there's a lot of work still ahead of us, but we feel like our kids are making strides, and our teachers are working their tails off as well with those.
Is there kind of a natural division on the previous screen, the reading and math and stuff? And we see here as far as your approaches versus meets? I mean, how far below is the approaches? Because it seems to me that meets should be like 85 to 90%, masters would be high, and you should want only like a 3 to 5% approaching that they're meeting the criteria.
Well, and what happens is all of these, it's, if you look across, we'll take the 6th grade, for example, everybody's in that 65%, and then that 30% is carried over, and then the 11% for there. Maybe I'm not understanding your question fully.
Okay, so the 30 and the 11% are included in the 65.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Because it's 65% and stuff, I'm thinking that's not getting those kids where they need to be.
No, sir. That's so we start pulling those numbers out of those as it comes through.
Okay. So that makes more sense.
I'm sure there's a mathematical term for that, how you would call that, but I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Okay, so for the math,
for the
math challenge, that approaches would for 6th grade would only be 20 whatever percent.
No, it is 65% of our kids scored at, the way they say it is they scored at least approaches. And so at least we have 65% of our kids. Of those 65, 30% of those 65 all got up to meets. And of those 30%, 11% made it to masters. And so if you're thinking about points in our accountability world that we've talked about a lot, remember that approaches gets you 1 point, meets gets you 2, and masters gets you 3. I hope that helps a little bit. So yeah, it's at least is kind of the term they use when they're talking about the performance level.
Because if you're a student that mastered the test, that means you also met it and approached it, because you can do it.
So they're actually getting double counted.
Correct, and triple counted for masters.
Triple, yeah.
Okay,
And so,
that makes that's a little bit more palatable.
Yes.
So that
30
then does leave just the approaches a 20, or I can't do math, 20 some
35.
5. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Okay, I follow you.
So we got 35% of the kids we've got to get up here in the next month.
Okay. When y'all break that down next time, could you take and put a little parenthetical number on there so it's a lot easier? Because if the person's just looking at it and they don't know that looks terrible.
I would agree with that, and put that in the meets also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll send you some different samples of how we could report it, and y'all tell us which one makes the most sense for you and the public. When we look at it, unfortunately, we look at it every day, so I get it. So we want to make sure everybody understands how it's being reported. So we'll get with y'all between now and May and show you how we could do it. So that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, you can put the 65 on there, but again, when you factor out the 30 and 11 and stuff, that should be easy enough for you to take and put that on there for us to be able to see it. Because like I said,
in
you don't know anything.
parentheses, put a minus 41, and in the meets put a minus 11 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is percents, but we can play with it and figure it out, because it's not representing a number of students or percent of kids. But yes, we can notate it and show you some ways we could do that make most sense for the public.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought y'all wanted to know numbers of kids over the percentages, but I get what you're saying now. Okay. I thought you were concerned, well, what's 65? Is that 65 kids, or is that the percent of the number? So I thought you wanted the other. I get what you're saying.
I think I was thinking kids when I was speaking, but yeah, Larry made it clear when he asked his question, or Jason did when he said that's percentage.
Yeah, okay.
I think it would be helpful if it equaled 100%.
I get what you're saying.
So what we could do also next time is add a column to the left that says does not meet. And so the does not meet on that one would be 35, and then approaches is 65. That way, you know, that's the 100.
Yes, that's the only equal 100 is if you're just looking at did not meet and approaches. That will always equal 100.
And then additionally, is there, and I know we're not getting any kind of guidance or anything this year from the top, but is there any kind of indication about what is our threshold, you know, either from a score perspective or from a, you know, anything like that? I don't know if that's
They're focusing on performance levels. So no, the answer is pretty much no. That scale score we're referring to that they said they're not going to do is where they do that weight that you heard Mrs. Costa talk about earlier that shows you like how much a question was worth kind of and where they landed on that. The raw score is kind of funny because it's just black and white. Did they get it right or did they get it wrong? And so they're really focusing on maintaining performance level or growing that. So if I scored approaches last year and I scored meets this year, that's good, but they're not going to give us any like overarching, hey, you guys did better than last year overall because of this. They're not going to do that. It's going to be individual scores.
Sorry to interrupt you. So the only thing we have to compare to is our 30, 60, 90 goal, really, at this point.
Yes. And
Ms. Adams, we won't even be able to give them a domain 1 idea compared to a domain 1 from 2 years ago.
I can do that. Yes, but it'll only be the percentages to the percentages. Won't be able to tell you what that was.
That's all right. I think they're going to want to see, and you guys will know from our journey that we're a domain 2 focused district, but at least you'll be able to see domain 1 compared to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago that we can show you, especially by cohort. So I think you'll find that, Lori Yannick, you'll find that interesting.
And we can do that, but the hardest part of it is that, say 2 years back, whenever they did that domain 1, there would have been some in there that like some problems that hardly counted worth any, and then others counted
Sure.
a lot, where when we do it this year, we're doing it on our own. So we're going to make them all equal. So it's still not quite apples to apples, but as close as we can.
No, but I agree, but it's something tangible we can just look at, but it's not going to be totally accurate, not even remotely. But I was trying to think of
if it doesn't make sense, then don't do it. I was just trying to get a reference point. So.
Okay. Well, we'll still show you some things because I do want you to, I'm trying to figure out the best way to report it to you without, because we're going to have to do it all ourselves. So we'll come up with some ideas and run them by you at the May meeting, just so you can hear what we think we can show you. Because I know we've got our race to an A going, and it's going to be hard to report what is in those columns for 2021. So we're going to have to figure this out anyway. So we'll throw some things your way to show you what we think we can figure.
Okay, thank you guys.
And then don't throw things at the principals if y'all think like, hey, wait a minute, why didn't they get this? Well, we're not 100% sure. And maybe I should have said Amanda and me too. So we're going to have to try to figure that stuff out the best we can in a year we're getting nothing.
Yes, I think we'll have to focus on performance levels, but we can do some things. Yeah.
The big thing for me, this conversation has been helpful because now I understand the masters and the meets are wrapped up in the number under approaches. And that also explains what you were saying about approaches gets 1 point, meets gets 2, masters gets 3. Why? Because that one kid shows up 3 times on that chart there. So thanks for the conversation. It's been helpful.
Exactly.
Yeah, no problem.
And this is why, guys, we love questions. So keep them coming. This is a very helpful report tonight.
I think Mr. Truitt said it best. We look at this so often that sometimes it just, we don't know exactly what information to present. So we love the questions. It helps us to rethink how we need to present that better. Mr. Clander, you have one more slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There you go.
Taking a look at our math here, and as you can see with our 6th grade kids, they are quite a bit ahead with our 7th and 8th graders right now. You'll see with the 8th grade that currently we don't have any kids in that master's category, which is something they're working very, very diligently on. Do want to note that some of our highest level performers in our 8th grade as well, though, they are taking Algebra 1, so they won't count into this testing group. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But you can see we have a large number of meets kids in our 8th grade math. And the same thing with our 6th grade math. So those are some groups that we feel like we can take some of those kids and push them to that next level pretty easily, because they're on the cusp there. With our 7th graders, we're still a little bit behind with that group. We're doing some things to help close some of those gaps in these final days. So those kids are continuing to come to those tutorial groups, and we're working to increase all 3 of those numbers particularly.
Let me note that 8th grade number set there has no Algebra 1 kids in it. Our 8th graders that are algebra are not included in that. So that 42 at meets, knowing that we've taken out algebra kids, is a good number. So.
And I'd also like to remind the board of, without getting into specifics, that 7th grade interim was taken twice. And as you know, we did our best to get accurate scoring. And so you see that reflection of that Monday retest there. So please keep that in mind, that we're not 100% sure that's reflective of how that class will do. And you know, from my correspondence, we did the best we could there. And I'll leave it at that.
But I will say the same thing for our math teacher, just like with our reading teachers, that they're doing a lot of things more than they have in the past to really help not only close those gaps that we know that were already present, but to close those gaps as we move forward, because they're making those data-driven decisions. And that's really all we can continue focusing on, is pushing kids to just to get better and keep working hard as they are.
All right.
Okay, that concludes the administrative and campus reports. Thank you to all our presenters. Great job tonight.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the clarification.
Hey,
Go
David,
team.
I don't know, David, I don't know if this is the spot, but can you address the all the computer glitches and the tests that were canceled by TEA and all that? Amanda looks like she was going to talk about that, but okay.
Yes, go ahead, Mrs. Adams, since you had the most hands-on approach to finding a solution for us. So yes, please share.
It was fun that day. I don't know about that. Poor kids. So on the very first day of our spring testing, we had an English 1 set for testing. Most of our students test online, and so do every other district's kids, apparently. We had a major issue statewide. It was not a West ISD issue that took us down about 9 o'clock, a little earlier. And the state kept sending out information that just said, hang tight, we're trying to figure it out. And so we did hang tight for a couple hours, and then they said, no more testing today. They can't fix it. So we sent our kids back to class. We waited with bated breath because they said they would let us know by 5 a.m. the next morning. A little after school that day, around 5 o'clock, they said, we think we have it fixed. It's something to do with the dictionary app. We disabled that. You guys are good to go whenever you want to try again. We decided it was not in our best interest to try again the next day. We held off to kind of see what was going on because they told us we could finish it anytime within the 5-week period. We, of course, didn't want to wait that long. But we successfully then tested our English 2 kiddos on Thursday. We had no issues. So we tested our English 1 kiddos after we sent home information to families about our schedule. We tested those kids on Friday. Our teachers and families were very flexible. Thank you to Michelle Scott, Janet Prodka, all the other admin team at Middle High, and also Chuck for being flexible and working with me and making sure we got that done around track meets and TSA and everything else. You guys were awesome. They continue to have this dictionary app like just completely turned off because they feel like that was the issue. I don't know, but we will see how it goes in May. But other than that, which was not our issue, thankfully, online testing went really well. Other than that.
I was going to say, as a parent, seeing all of the logistical handiwork take place last week after having to reshuffle track meets, rain delays, as well as the outage and everything else. That was quite a feat. So good job to everybody there.
We appreciate everybody's flexibility and patience. You're going to hear the frustration in my voice. They had to do one thing, to have testing ready on that date with all we've been through and how we've been waiting to get that first English 1 test going, and then the system crashes. I was just beside myself, and the kids were ready, the teachers were ready, and then they have to get them refocused and re-energized. I want to thank Miss Exum and Miss Ybarra, our English 1 teachers in the district, for doing a fabulous job. I just can't even, I can't even correctly share my frustration with this. And then the response from the TEA, who should be supporting us and serving us, it was disappointing as well. And I personally think that company should be fired, but they don't ask me those questions. But once again, excuses, and our kids just keep rocking. So I'm just so thankful for our staff and students.
Next year, there is another company coming on. It's not ESI or EIS or whatever they are.
I'm in now, and let's not take it, but we do need the scores. But I agree. You're right. Fun times. All right, we're just going to do the best we can with what we're given and be positive and move forward. So I appreciate the principals and Miss Adams as well. Miss Sikora, we had to have all hands on deck on that one. All right, we're ready for number 9. Dr.
Agenda item number 9 is an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to approve the 2021-2022 out-of-district student transfer request. You have that in your packet, and Mr. Truitt's going to inform us of the same.
You have the names by campus and the ones that are employee or color-coded. We're looking at a request here for you to approve 118 total for the 21-22 school year. This doesn't mean they're all coming. This is just going to dictate the next steps of them getting a letter to confirm they still want to be Trojans and Lady Trojans. I know you guys always like to hear the historical data. It's down from 141 from this year, and from 2 years ago, 166. And so our heavy transfers in high school are slowly graduating, and so it's going to reduce our overall enrollment even greater. So 22 more kids are coming off that enrollment total that I've already shared with you due to COVID. And so that number is creeping over 100 from just March of 2020. And so it's something that we have to continuously watch. We are still a transfer or inter-district transfer district. I know Chuck in particular has room 6 through 12, and he's carefully looking with some new things we're going to look at as criteria. Mrs. Cosdale, remember, has to be way more selective with room, particular grade levels we try to avoid. And so just each case is one we'll discuss before we even accept the papers to make sure that we're being transparent and upfront with the parents about the prospects there. And so tonight I'm seeking your approval for these 118 for Ms. I almost said Cosda, excuse me, Kettler, to send out the letters to get confirmation if they're going to return with us.
All right. Thank you very much, David. The floor is now open for a motion to address agenda item number 9 about the transfers as presented.
So moved.
Who will make that motion? Holly Willis has
Yes.
made the motion. Ken, I see you waving a pencil. I believe that's a second. So all those in favor of the motion as presented, please show of hands or say aye. All right. Okay, 7. Anyone opposed? Same sign. All right. Thank you, Mike. So 7-0 leads. I see the agenda item number 10 is also an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to consider the resolution to reauthorize West ISD designation as a district of innovation, known as DOI. If you'll note, the original DOI plan was approved on May the 10th of 2017 and amended on April the 8th of 2020. The purpose of this action item is to reauthorize the previously approved DOI plan and its amendment for an additional 5 years. Mr. Truitt, do you have anything to add?
Actually, quite a bit. This is a biggie, so I want to make sure that you guys saw everything in your packet because I gave you the new resolution we're approving tonight, and then a copy of the one you approved in 2017, and then I gave you the policy AF, and then I gave you a copy of our DOI plan that's posted on the TEA website for reference. Just a little historical context. The first stop that has to happen was last night at the district advisory team. They had to approve that, yes, they wanted to renew our plan for another 5 years. And then we had to approve a subset or a subcommittee of the DAT that will be the DOI Renewal Committee. In May, you'll actually approve that committee by names. We want to make sure all the positions are filled for all the campuses. And then we'll start our work or continue our work, I should say, because we can meet and get some things going ahead of that. I want to remind you of what's in our DOI plan so it can be marinating, especially if there's any ideas that you guys want us to consider. Remember, we originally in 2007 wanted the minutes of instruction, which is no longer a big need because it was back then you had to choose and had to have a DOI piece if you weren't doing 180 days of instruction for kids. Like for example, this year we're 163 versus the 75,600 minutes. Now, all the state cares about is do you have your minutes? And remember the days are about contracts for staff. And so we don't even talk about days anymore for kids. It's all about minutes. Second thing is there's a law that says you can't start school before the 4th Monday in August. As you know, we have in the past and will next year started ahead of that. And so this gives us that ability. Remember, we have campus behavior coordinators on here because we like an approach as a team over one individual. If you think about Chuck, for example, he has Kyle and Jana and Michelle and Matt who can all assist with discipline. And we don't want to name one person in case someone's out or someone's tied up. We got to have multiple people that can help. That's why Carrie has Leanna and Misty. And so that's why we have that one on there. Remember, we had some hard to fill positions for teacher certification. And so we added dual credit as we were trying to expand that program. All of our CATE, our career and technical education, our project lead the way strands, engineering, computer science and health science. And then we have to name a librarian. And so that's actually Amanda Adams because our librarians are aides. We appreciate though the job that Mrs. Mays and Mrs. O'Brien do for us, but we have to have Amanda in that role. And then we looked at, of course, the alternative healthcare plan, which you know we're working through even with the 2 strikes. And then we recently added the security provisions. So we're going to look at other things, but that's what's in it. And so tonight, when you approve this resolution, we're just kicking off the cycle and the process of renewing our plan, which means keep some of these in place or remove them, keep some going strong, maybe some tweaks, and maybe even add some new ones. And so tonight I'm seeking your approval to sign and date that resolution as step 2 after last night's work to get this going again.
Very good. Thank you, David.
You
Any questions before I call for a motion? If there are no questions for David, the floor is open for a motion to approve agenda item number 10 as presented by Mr. Truitt.
So moved.
John Crowder has made the motion. Is there a second? I see Kenny Sikora has made the second. All those in favor, please show of hands. All those opposed, same sign. There are none, 7-0. Thank you very much. That brings us to agenda item number 11. It's an action item, consideration of possible action by the board to approve the recommended updates to the West ISD Return to Learn and Play COVID-19 risk mitigation plans as previously addressed, as you'll recall, Mr. Truitt brought that to our attention.
Yes,
David?
there's 4 bullet points if we can consider that for approval.
All right. Are there any questions before I call for a motion? If there are none, the floor is open for a motion to accept the agenda item number 11 as presented and presented earlier. Kenny, I see your hand as far as the motion being made. Mike, I saw your hand as the second. All those in favor, please show of hands. All opposed, same sign. There are none, 7-0. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 12 is consideration and possible action by the board to approve Thursday, May 27th, 2021 as the last day of the 2020-2021 school year for all students. Please note that with this change, West ISD's 2020-2021 instructional minutes would total 7,690 minutes. The state requirement is 75,600 minutes. Mr. Truitt is going to take, and he's already commandeered the screen. Go, David.
All right, just look at the May box right in front of you, and you can see I've adjusted it from what you previously approved. Tonight, I'm seeking your approval to make the last day for students, those are the two key words, Thursday, May 27th, and that will give the teachers another day to check out, have meetings, have a special luncheon with us, do award ceremonies, in hopes that the checkout doesn't even have to happen on the 29th. Our kids have worked hard this year. We have the minutes back since we got the waiver for Snowmageddon. And Mrs. Deffelson confirmed that we could do this. I actually had asked her just for an early release, and she said, actually, David, we could do the whole day. So I was like, booyah, let's go for it. So good reward for the kids, and the parents can then take over on that day. Go parents. And gives our teachers another day to get a lot of stuff done before the summer. So tonight I'm seeking your approval to end the school year on May 27th for students. And again, we have the minutes, as Dr. Sparks read, by 90. So we'll have 90 extra minutes after this decision. For some reason, I don't think we'll have a snow day in April or May. I probably should knock on wood and just jinxed us. But I don't see there being any issues why we'd have to come back and change this, but we can if needed.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, David. Any questions?
David,
All right.
the only thing that I would state is, as a parent and having calendars changed this late in the game might be bothersome in terms of childcare and that kind of stuff. I get that it's just one day, but something that we need to kind of think about for future reference.
I agree. And just so you know, I already sent it out in the Trojan tidbit, but I said you were considering it, hadn't approved it, just so people could start thinking about that date, moving up a day. And as you know, a lot of parents email me back on those Trojan tidbits, and a lot of positives about, yay, we can start the Memorial Day weekend a day early and go somewhere. And so we got some really good feedback, but I know that's not every family. So I'm going to make sure they hear your decision on this even first thing in the morning by getting this all out.
All right. Very good. Any other further questions? If not, the floor is open for a motion to address agenda item number 12 as presented. Would you please identify yourself? The screen is such where I can't see anyone.
There you go.
To make the motion. Okay. Floor is open for a motion to address this item. Jason, I saw your
Yannick
hand.
makes the motion. Oh, sorry, Dr. Sparks.
Go
Jason
ahead.
Yannick.
I'm sorry.
Jason Yannick makes the motion.
All right. Is there a second? John Crowder seconds the
I got
motion.
Kenny first as a
You
second.
got Kenny? Okay. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please show of hands. All those opposed, same sign. There are none. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Agenda item number 13 is an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to adopt the resolution amending authorized representatives for the Texas Local Government Investment Tool, also known as TexPool. Joanna Mosick is going to present. Where is Joanna? Oh, there you are. Okay.
Sorry, and then my light went off. I still need to get that fixed. I swear, Dr. Crowder, I'm going to get it fixed. So with TexPool, we keep one account open in TexPool, and that's our workers' comp. We are required to keep workers' compensation in a separate account, and we've just always kept it in TexPool. We've always kept TexPool open. For future reference, that might be something we might want to move to maybe Logic, or possibly into a different pool, or we can always look at those options later. But for right now, it's doing really well there. We have a little over, I think, 100 grand for workers' comp, just kind of like a just in case item. but all we're needing is to change over the contact information to myself and Mr. Truitt. That's what we need for.
Okay, very good. Any questions? If not, the floor is open for a motion to address agenda item number 13 as presented.
So moved by Holly Willis.
Holly Willis has made the motion. Is there a second? Jason Yannick, I see your hand. He is second the motion. All those in favor of the motion as presented, please show of hands. All those opposed, same sign. There are none. Thank you very much. The motion passes 7-0. Joanna, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Have you, with the Texas Workforce Commission, workers' comp and stuff, have you received any fraudulent claims about any employees filing for unemployment?
You know, I think I was actually in the office whenever we received the one for Carla, and I immediately called her and said, this doesn't look right, and she said no.
Apparently there's a scam going around. I've talked to other businesses and stuff like that, and having employees that, so it's just something to be aware of.
Oh, good. I didn't realize that it was going on kind of throughout other businesses.
It is, yeah.
It is. It's all over. We've actually had 5 Dr. Sparks, including me. So yes, it's happening.
Okay, all right. So it's just something to be aware of.
Thank you.
Very good. Agenda item number 14 is also an action item. It's consideration and possible action by the board to approve the installation and fiber splicing contract with TFE Connect, utilizing by board as presenting the best value for the district. And Joanna's also going to talk to us about that. Thank you, Joanna.
She's actually going to kick this one to me. We're tabling
okay.
Because we had another bid come in that we're reviewing because it could possibly be a better value to the district. And they were out today and are still assessing some things, and we couldn't get it done by tonight. So we'll get back with you on that one.
Okay, so we're going to take no action on this.
I did say table. You're right. No action.
No action.
Yes.
All right. All right. That brings us to agenda item number 15, which is executive session. And it is now 8:07 according to my clock. At this time, we'll adjourn into closed executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Chapter 551071, 551129, 551074, and 551072. You have that code, and we will be back in a few minutes. Audience, if you want to hang around and stuff, we will be back as quick as possible. Thank you so very much.
Sure, if there's a question.
Are we recording appropriately?
She just turned it on. If we can simply for the recording make reference that we just approved 6-0, Mr. Sikora is not present, the personnel report as presented. Ms. Crawshaw, who were the first and seconds?
Holly Willis and Justin Yannick.
Okay, that should cover it for the recording. Okay, sorry about that, Mrs. Adams. Thanks for catching that. 16B, tonight I'm seeking your approval for contract recommendation for Tabitha O'Neill, our new LSSP.
All right. Floor is open for a motion to address this item.
So moved.
Holly has made the motion. Is there a second? Jason Yannick's made the second. All those in favor of the motion as presented, show of hands. Okay. All those opposed, same sign. There are none. And there was 6. Lee, did you vote yay?
Yeah, my camera keeps going out. I'm not sure. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see. Okay.
A quick point of order. Actually, we lost Mike. Oh, there he is. Hey, Mike. Yep. Okay.
I just had to read through everything. I get a nasty window that pops up. Zoom does not like my computer.
Didn't Mike vote?
Excuse me.
Mike did vote. Mike did not vote.
I did not vote. Did y'all vote on something?
Yeah, it was on the action item for the contract. Superintendent contract.
Tabitha O'Neill, Mike, LSSP.
Okay. So you need me to raise my hand?
Yes, please. All right.
Thank you.
6 with 1 absentee or 1 absent. All right.
And then-
Agenda item 16C.
Yes, the name we discussed in closed session to be added to our school guardian program training.
Very good. The
So
floor is open
moved.
for a motion. Lee, did you say that?
Yes.
Okay, Lee has made the motion. Mike Garrick has seconded it. All those in favor, please show of hands. All right, all those opposed, same sign. There are none. 6 with 1 absentee. All right, that concludes our business at this time. That brings us to our report from our superintendent and his closing remarks.
You'll go to the memo in the back. I just wanted you to see our running list of April and May calendar reminders. Specifically, as a pullout, I wanted to talk about graduation on Friday, May 28th. Dr. Sparks has shared that he will not be able to make graduation. And so as Vice President, Holly Willis will do the diplomas as the representative of the board. Also, he reminded me that someone that serves on the Hazel Montgomery board must do the Hazel Montgomery piece. And Larry believes the only other candidate other than himself is Ronnie Sikora. So we need to talk to Ronnie about doing that portion of the graduation ceremony, you know, where the names are announced and they stand and a little blurb is read about Hazel. So we'll make sure we get with him and let him be a part of that. So Dr. Sparks, we're sorry you're going to miss the event, and Holly's ready to shake hands and pass out diplomas and be in pictures. So we'll figure that out. Also want to remind you that since we were talking earlier about our operating procedures, I will notify our high school seniors in an email about our guideline about other board members and relations and the bullet points. I've already had one ask for Mr. Yannick Trey, who's his nephew. And so we need to make sure we're following all that and send that out so we can have that list approved.
It's since it's his nephew, that doesn't need to be a letter written to you, correct? It's got to be a friend, correct? Yeah, be sure that's all.
Well, friends actually can't.
Friends, yes. Friends, yes. Yeah. 10 days.
So, yes, sir. 10 days. Yeah, the letters help just so we know who they are, so I can tell y'all when they come up. So I've always told them, go ahead and send us the letter, Mike, just so we know on the list of who's switching out when, so we can go through that with Holly, so she'll know when to step back when y'all are coming up and that kind of stuff. It just helps. Yep. I know you, and I know you got a lot of Garricks in this town, so I'm sure some letters are coming. So
nah, they don't like me. That's Jason's kin folks.
Wait, the Yannicks are related to the Garricks? You're blowing my mind.
Those Garricks, yes. Anyway.
Okay, that's a story in itself there. Next on the agenda is SLI. I sent y'all an email about how if we can get in the lottery, we'll know if we're even eligible to attend in person in San Antonio or Fort Worth. So I've told Sandra to just register us so we can see. And then if you want to do online versus go in person, then we at least have that option. Of course, we can do virtual for either one. We can wait and do Fort Worth later in the month or do San Antonio earlier virtual time, or we can go in person, either one. And I'm not at all saying everybody has to go in person. It needs to be a personal decision about your level with their restrictions that they're going to publish, your family situation there. And once we see if we're even eligible, we need to have that discussion. So we're going to put in on, I saw that, Amanda. We're going to put in on, we're all on the yawn. Look what Jason started. Yeah. April 28th, we're going to put in and just see what happens. So we may not even get picked. So it may be a moot point. So I just wanted to let you know what we're planning to do, and then you need to decide what's best for you. Okay. And then the last thing, Amanda and I talked with Missy Shulock about the current state of our Legacy West Foundation and how we can revamp it and get it going again. We have several thousand in place for grants here at the end of the year, and we're going to award those on May 28th. 28th, and right now the grants are being turned in by the teachers. But we didn't do the big drive for additional funds. Hey, there he is. Hey, Kenny. Sorry about that. We didn't do the big drive at the start of this year just because of COVID time, and we weren't sure where our businesses and such were financially, and we didn't want to inundate them with requests for donations. But we will do that again going in the next August and just see who wants to support that initiative. But Missy reminded me that most of the folks on their board no longer are even living in West or don't have kids in the district. So she's looking for leadership, including the board representative. And right now we need to have that discussion as it's listed as Larry. And we just need to see, Larry, if you want to continue that or if you want to give that up. And then I need to see who else wants to be that person on the board. So why don't we start there? I guess, Larry, do you still want to be the Legacy West Foundation board rep?
No, I'm ready to pass that on.
All right. So from the other 6, anybody want to be a part of that?
No, thank you.
Somebody has to.
What does that entail again, David?
They have monthly, or really it's probably quarterly meetings. And the big thing, Mike, is they have the big drive at the start of the year, and then they meet about the grants to decide which teachers to select that are getting the money. Sounds right up here.
How soon do you need an answer?
Now, go, Mike, go.
We can wait till the May meeting if y'all need to let it marinate. It sounds like you're the only one even considering it, though. So, all in favor of
somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it.
Oh, Jason raised his hand. He's saying he'll be on it.
I was voting for Mike.
Oh, I tried.
Well, Crowder and I are starting to be old ones on this board.
No longer the babies.
Yeah, just the other day we were the babies. What happened?
I know.
Y'all grew up so quick.
Nobody. Please, Bueller. Mike, think about it. Call me. But right now, it looks like and even showing a remote interest. It's a good group of people to work with, and I don't think it's a huge time commitment. So let's talk about it, okay?
Sure. Be glad to.
Michael, do it.
All right. I'm going to twist his arm. We'll talk. And then the other thing on it, if y'all have any names of people in the community that you'd like to see on it, some organized, community-driven, Trojan-loving volunteers that be on the board. It's similar to you guys as a board. And so if you've got some names, if you'll email or text me, I'll call them and send the Missy. I will tell you, Missy decided, I thought she was going to tell me since Emma graduated that we were looking for the head of the board, but she wants to stay on. And I told her we appreciated that and we'd go from there. She just needs other people on the board. So I'm working on that for her.
That's good of her to do that.
Yep.
Okay, Dr. Sparks, that's it for my closing remarks and updates.
Well, thank you very much. Jason Yannick has made the motion for us to adjourn. Is there a second? I see Kenny Sikora's hand. So all those in favor of adjourning the meeting, show your hand and leave the meeting. Click. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much for participating.